What's going on, everyone? This is Dom, and today we're getting into my time with the OnePlus 11 5G. So with how fast we tend to get OnePlus phones, I feel like it's every 6 months or so at this point, it seems a little hard for them to do anything more than an iterative release, right? Because there's not a lot of time that has passed between the last phone that we had, the OnePlus 10 Pro, and this one, the OnePlus 11 5G, but there's some cool things to say about it. First off, inside we have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor and 16 gigabytes of RAM, and you know what? As far as the performance goes, this thing has been snappy. I mean, what else do you expect at this day and age with the phone technology that we have? If a phone in 2023 isn't snappy out of the box, then I feel like we've failed everything, because this is just, it's got what it needs to be a flagship phone inside of it. And obviously months or years down the road will tell the story of its true performance. But for right now, this thing has been pretty good. So obviously you can tell that the design is a little bit different from the OnePlus 10 Pro that we had previously. And it's got its things about it. There's one thing that I want to point out with the design of the camera, which I will do during the camera portion of this review. But as far as the design goes, it's a smartphone. I mean, it looks like a smartphone. It's playing everything pretty safe. We got glass on both sides. We have our camera hump right here, which I'll get into in a little bit because I do have some problems that I wanted to point out with that. But other than that, the design is pretty clean. Can't really say anything bad about it. So around the front side here, we have a 6.7-inch 2K always-on display. This display is actually 120 hertz and it looks buttery smooth. The camera doesn't know justice. You really have to see it with your eyes. But that's not really surprising to me or anything like that. It does have the ability to have its always on display go all the way down to 1 hertz, which is like just no refresh rate at all basically, which does help with battery life as well. And again, no surprises here. I think that's the theme of this video, is that there are just no surprises with this phone because everything is iterative, and as good of a job as they have done with releases every 6 months, that really doesn't leave a lot of room for these big wow factor surprises that we get with flagships that refresh every year or so. So let's talk about camera performance, because honestly that's something that a flagship phone needs to do the absolute best, right? I'm sure a lot of people would agree with me out there. That is what we look for in a good smartphone. Good camera, good battery life, good performance. Those are like the top 3 things right there. Well, on the back side of the OnePlus 11 here, we have a 50 megapixel main shooter. We have a 48 megapixel shooter with the ultra wide lens on it. And then we have a 32 megapixel telephoto lens. That's all packing some good heat right there. So as far as the photos go on the OnePlus 11, I'd say they're absolutely clean. Like, no surprises here. I expect this camera to do pretty good, especially the 50 megapixel main sensor on the backside. Everything looks just as it should in daylight, and even using night mode on this thing, very, very clean. Though I did notice something when shooting video, and I will be sure to leave all of my full resolution photos linked for you down in the gallery in the description in case you want to check those out for yourself. But let's talk about that issue that came up mainly when shooting video. I did have the same thing happen on a couple of night mode shots, but what's happening here is you're getting a lot of light glare that I believe has to do with this big glass lens on the back. And I was seeing this quite often when shooting video. And if you want to see a full real-world camera video on the OnePlus 11 5G, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. But I noticed that it was just attracting a lot of glare in that big round lens on the back. And again, maybe that's something they can fix with software, but I think it has to do specifically just because there's this big round plate of glass on the back here that is just refracting light into it somehow into the sensors, and it's creating this light glare on the video, which I have plenty of examples of. Other than that, my experience with the camera has been pretty great. I didn't expect it to do bad or anything. Again, no surprises here. This is 2023. If you can't do a smartphone camera right, then what are you even doing with your life? On top of that, this camera can shoot up to 8K video, which is nice, though most of my examples have been shot in 4K, but the optical image stabilization and the electronic image stabilization work great to just give you very fluid video. Now let's talk about battery performance, because obviously that's another important thing here for a lot of people. And again, the theme stays the same, no surprises. So this has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery in it with 80 watt Super VOOC charging, so it will charge up very, very quickly, which is nice. But in terms of the battery life, at least in my personal use, let me preface this by saying I use my phones a lot more than the average person, like a lot more. So your mileage is definitely going to vary when it comes to the battery life on this. I have to say that because every time I don't say it, people are like, oh, that's all you got? Well, that's because I use my phone in beast mode most of the time. So with the battery life, I was able to get around 6 hours of screen on time. I could have pushed it a little bit further than that, but like I said, I'm using my phone way more than the average person, so don't think that's going to be generally your use on it. I try to do it as best as I can, as fair as I can, by just keeping my normal day-to-day use, and seems like about 6 hours is like the Android average for me in terms of screen on time. So it's not performing any lower than any other smartphones that I've used, and it's not performing any higher. It's just right there on the middle ground. And really, those are the three things that I look out for when I'm talking about smartphones: performance, camera, and battery life. Those are the three most important things that you can have in a good smartphone. And I think that the OnePlus 11 delivers on those things with a few hiccups here or there, but it's done pretty good, and I'm not really surprised by that because OnePlus does make good phones, and they finally brought back the alert slider. I know it was only one generation gone, but what were y'all thinking when you took that away for the first time? Did they think that we were just gonna sit down and not mention the fact that this staple for your flagship smartphone has been removed from it? Thank you for bringing it back, OnePlus. I really do appreciate that. But I don't know, I would love to know your thoughts and opinions about the OnePlus 11 down in the comments section below. It was weird not saying OnePlus 11 Pro. It's just OnePlus 11 5G. Let me know your thoughts and everything down in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to hit the thumbs up button. If you're new around here to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified when new videos like this drop in the near future. All that being said, like I said, I'd love to know your thoughts down in those comments section below. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. I really do appreciate it. Once again, this is Dom, and I will catch you in the next video.